Welcome to the Cortisol Coach Podcast. If you're exhausted, gaining weight, losing your hair, your anxiety is through the roof, or the depression and emotional overwhelm have completely consumed your life, or maybe you're not showing up as the wife and mom you want to be. You've spent years never feeling good enough, taking care of everyone else while you quietly fell apart. And your body has been keeping score of every single bit of it. The chronic stress, hormonal shifts, perimenopause, menopause, whatever season you're in, cortisol is making all of it worse. And until you heal the root, nothing changes. But this show here is about to change that. I'm your host, Christine Marie, Holy Spirit-led biblical mindset coach, and I have helped thousands of women heal their hormones and cortisol levels. Every week, I bring you leading experts, doctors, and coaches who will help you heal your body, mind, emotions, and your spirit so that you can step into every kingdom purpose that God has planned for your life. So go grab your cup of coffee and let's jump in. My guest today is one of the most credentialed and sought-after voices in women's hormone health in the world. And I have been wanting to get her on this show since the moment the idea was breathed. Dr. Anna Cabeca is a doctor of osteopathic medicine, a board-certified OBGYN, and a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She's triple board certified, spanning gynecology, obstetrics, integrative medicine, and anti-aging, and regenerative medicine. She also holds special certifications in functional medicine, sexual health, and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. She is the best-selling author of The Hormone Fix, Keto Green 16, and Menopause. And if you have not read any of these books yet, I promise you after this episode, you're going to want to read them. But what makes Dr. Anna unlike any other doctor in this space is not just those credentials. It is how she shows up. She speaks from the heart. She's refreshingly blunt, and she has a sense of humor that will make those really uncomfortable, complex, hormonal conversations feel like you're sitting across from your best girlfriend. That is also why she's called the Girlfriend Doctor. Today, we're talking about something that affects every single woman in this audience: cortisol, hormones, menopause. And I want to particularly talk with her about the keto green approach that helped me lose 10 pounds since I just met her. It is changing the way that women heal. Dr. Anna, welcome to the Cortisol Coach Podcast.
Oh my gosh, Christine, I'm so glad to be here with you. Really, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I just want to talk to you first. I want to kick this off. You have dedicated your entire career to women's hormone health. So talk to us. Was there a moment that made this your personal mission?
Well, I definitely will say that, there's that saying that your mess becomes your message.
Okay.
So that's the reason it's my personal mission. And I've seen too many women suffer. But for me personally, I had been diagnosed with early menopause and infertility when I was 39 years old. I'd failed 6 rounds of infertility treatments, and then the diagnosis of early menopause or premature ovarian insufficiency was given, and that my dreams to become pregnant again with another child was completely squashed. And that took me on a healing journey around the world where I met with, as a sabbatical, but I knew I had to keep the earth moving under my feet, right? That's just my coping mechanisms. And I met serendipitously indigenous healers and from all different walks of life, a Native American shaman, an Andean philosopher, an Indonesian medicine man, and some of the leading world scientists and clinicians as a result of that journey, and just life along the way. And I say the hand of God was leading me, even though I had felt abandoned by God at that time after that diagnosis. The hand of God was definitely in my life. And with that, naturally reversed early menopause, and then naturally conceived the child I was told I would never be able to have at 41 years old. So that was when I became pregnant. I was on fire to tell other women, your diagnosis is not your destiny. Your body has tremendous power to heal. Just give it what it needs, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and change lives. Changed my life.
Wow. That's amazing. I do know. So some of you guys do know and some of you guys don't know, but the day that I met Dr. Anna was the same day that I found out I was in mid-menopause. And I was having hot flashes continuously, but I connected that they were perimenopause. I never knew until I got those actual lab results that I was mid-menopause. And that was when the connection of high cortisol levels leading to these hormone dysregulations. And then she introduced a way that I could help my body better adjust to menopause. But first, before we go there, because I want to share keto greens with everybody, can you talk to me about how cortisol connects, how it's the foundation? How does it impact your body and your hormones?
Well, cortisol, I would say that if you think of the battle for existence in our life, we have cortisol always at opposition to oxytocin. So cortisol, like, and this is what I found through my own trauma, Christine, from my story that we lost our son in 2000, March 12th, 2006, in a tragic accident. And I was still breastfeeding him. And, from that moment, my breast didn't produce another ounce of milk, right? That was completely gone. And any mom knows if she breastfed, you miss a feeding, like you're 10 minutes late for a feeding, your breasts are engorged. I mean,
Right.
they literally completely deflated. And from there, the ensuing infertility and early menopause and the trauma. And, I'm a physician. I trained at Emory University in Atlanta. I'm integrative based. I'm always as part of my life. And I'm an osteopathic medicine trained. So, really believing that, the body empower the body to heal through so many mechanisms. And that's when it was completely devastated with the psychological and physical trauma that resulted from that, from post-traumatic stress. I say I now have post-traumatic growth. No
Love that.
more PTSD, but
Right.
there's that underlying physiology. And cortisol, when cortisol goes up, oxytocin goes down. Let's to simplify this complex sequence of events. But cortisol, you think cortisol goes up, oxytocin goes down. And if cortisol is up for a long time, the paraventricular nucleus in the brain will, through negative feedback, inhibit cortisol production. It's like, you are frying me out, right? You are frying
Right.
me out. And cortisol goes up, glucose goes up, inflammation goes up. I mean, it's a nasty circle. But then you get, when the cortisol is then suppressed, and you get in this dangerous state where cortisol is low and oxytocin's low at the same time. And that really is a physiology of depression, a physiology of disconnect, a physiology of burnout, maybe even a physiology of suicide. It's a very dangerous physiology. And as I started to understand that in myself, because for me, from completely desiring and loving my marriage to post-traumatically becoming divorced and burnout from my medical practice. I mean, speaking from experience here. I mean, I've been to the depths of hell for sure. And so, I know I say this very sincerely, that there's always hope, right? And then I had to learn to shift my physiology to get out of the acidifying cortisol, foot on the gas and brake at the same time experience. And I did that through increasing oxytocin increasing practices like prayer, meditation, gratitude, walking on the beach, these alkalinizing factors, in addition to adding more alkalinizing greens to help decrease the acidifying effects of cortisol as well. So hence the keto green approach that I ended up developing, that was part of this journey. And then really recognizing that we have to empower oxytocin, and that through that, we really balance so many aspects of our physiology and longevity.
I am so glad that you brought that point up because for me, when I switched to the keto green approach, I started feeling more joyful and I started feeling happier. I didn't know how connected it was, but when you are fueling your body properly on a cellular level, I am such a believer that God has provided every single tool in this world so that we can heal our bodies because we are made in the image of Christ. And so, talk to us more about this keto green approach. What are some of the biggest mistakes that women over 40 are making in their diet that are maybe hurting them, even not just body wise, right? Not just the image, not just the weight, but mentally.
Yes, yeah, and I wanna take people back in time because I was thinking, "Okay, what do I wish I knew in my 40s?" So let me just tell you where I was then, what I learned as a result of this. So when, that full-blown perimenopause when I was so initially diagnosed at menopause at 39, reversed it, had my baby Ava Marie, and so she's now 18. She'll be going off to college next year, and I'm 60 years old this year, and so still hauling horses, riding, living life in a very happy, authentic way, right? That's because when God puts something in your heart, you have to you have to listen, you have to
Right.
follow. So really happy that I've learned all these things, but from that state at 39, then reversing early menopause, then at 48, being in that post-traumatic, this is when cortisol was winning, the PTSD was full on. I'd only slept like 3 to 4 hours a night for years at this point because of PTSD that during that cycle, and then add in perimenopause when you're plummeting, your physiology is shifting, and even though I was a hormone expert, I've been in hormones since '99 and really trained in bioidentical hormones since early 2000. So hormones were dialed in, and that's why I always say it takes more than hormones to fix your hormones because those were dialed in. So, but here at that 48, the anxiety, the mood swings, the irritability, like where did this monster in me come from? Type of scenarios, like why did I, react, or more accurate to say overreact instead of
Right.
respond with calmness or clarity. And then the, memory loss, the brain fog, the difficulty, like I had burnout. I had to, retire from my medical practice. It was just burnout and exhausted. And I knew that I had to put God and family first. And I was a single mom, several years post-divorce at this point, a single mom and taking care of my girls solely. And so putting God and family first. And there was this spiral. And then I experienced what so many women, besides the neurologic and sleep deficiency and mood issues, experience, which was let's say, the needle that broke the camel's back or the straw that broke the camel's back is the weight gain without doing anything different, gaining 20 pounds literally overnight without doing anything different. Now, when I had patients say that to me, I think, okay, surely you're doing something different, right? This can't just happen. Well, I tell you, I was really humbled. I think it was 2014. I'm like, okay. And I had been well over 240 pounds at one point, had lost 80 pounds, kept them off. And so this weight gain without doing anything different, I'm like, that's terrifying. When will it stop? Will I be 300 pounds by the time this stops? And so that's when I structured into very low carb, complete restricted carbs, keto. And I knew keto because my oldest daughter had seizure disorder. So we used and recommended, I'd researched the keto diet for her as well as patients in my clinic with keto seizure or neurologic disorders, as well as my candida patients, right? Very carb restricted, ketogenic type diet. It all was in a healthy way. But I found out like I was still irritable and I'm like, I cannot be a good mom this way, right? What is going on? It wasn't keto flu. I checked my urine pH because something I learned to do many, many years ago. And I was as acidic as the urine pH paper read. So our bladder pH is, designed to be somewhat neutral. I mean, it'll get acidic with stress and exercise, but it is a marker of what's happening over the kidneys at the cellular level. And so cortisol increases acidity, increases hydrogen ion secretion across the renal tubule. So it makes basically you're having acid in the bladder. Now, long time, women, men, that's going to cause bladder irritability, infections, erosion of the bladder. I mean, we see all these urgency symptoms and all this stuff. That has to be a part of it. Now we need more, more research in that area. But definitely, I was like, the pH paper read 5, and I was pH of 5 or lower because it was as low as the pH paper read, and it should be 7. It should be neutral. It should be a good neutral pH, 7, a little bit alkaline, 7.5, 8. That's very healthy for the bladder. And it's also a sign, of good nutrients. So I started adding more of the greens and the alkalinizers, and that started to make a little bit different. The bone broth with all the minerals, right? But the mornings I did my gratitude journaling, my prayer meditation, or my walks on the beach, my urine pH was more alkaline each day. And that's because oxytocin is the most alkalinizing hormone. So if we can bring in more oxytocin, that's going to lower cortisol. So you get You get all those benefits. So that's how that green concept, not just like keto, not bacon and butter keto, but getting your body into ketosis to create that insulin sensitivity and decreasing inflammation, which you've already experienced, is that decrease in inflammation. It feels so good and clear. And the alkalinizing to feed, like the micronutrients, the broccoli sprouts, the bone broth, the, arugula. I mean, all my good recipes are in there to help feed the gut microbiome, which is key for hormone balance and decreasing inflammation. So that's why a good amount of fermented foods are recommended. And I mean, it's a concept between nutrition and lifestyle that really helps us decrease that inflammation, improve that insulin sensitivity. So we have glucose stabilization and really feel so much better. So that's how that came, and when I realized that and really focused on getting that urine pH more alkaline, adding in more of the alkalinizers, the greens, etcetera, and oxytocin practices, I lost that 20 pounds in 6 weeks. I mean, it really came 18 of the 20 pounds in 6 weeks.
Mm.
And from there, I was like, "Okay, I gotta see if this will help my other menopausal patients, my most
Right.
difficult ones," and that's how I literally invited 8 of my most difficult patients. I had retired at that point, so had brought them into my living room, and we met weekly, and that's how my magic menopause method was born, or the keto green method that we implement
Yeah.
in my menopause program. So it worked on everyone, and that felt more clarity, felt whole. I mean, I've written now 3 best-selling books. I couldn't write a blog back then.
Well, and what I love so much is that you have truly thought of the full picture. And I know for a lot of women, especially in menopause, libido is a huge problem. You've even answered the call on that one as well. Can you share more about the struggle would be with libido for a woman who is walking through menopause, and then why you created the product that you did?
Yeah, no, happy to, because, the issue of libido, sex drive, intimacy, and, to be honest, sexless marriage, people becoming roommates instead of lovers, is always a heartbreaking one of the most difficult conversations that patients have with their provider or their partners, their friends, etc. It's the most vulnerable area, whether male or female. It is the most vulnerable topic that we talk about. But yet, when we restore that, reconnect that intimacy, that connection, that spark of connection again, oh my gosh, it's like they reverse age 20 years, right? That intimacy, that spark. And I love it when clients tell me we are lovers again instead of roommates, right? Like, we've got that twinkle back in our eyes, like that flirtation's back. And I really researched this over the years. And I've found, like I grew up, let me just say it this way. I grew up Catholic and very introverted and reserved, right? But these difficult, helping my patients through these issues became that area, like, I have to solve their problem. I have to lean into these difficult conversations. I have to ask these questions, listen, help them, because otherwise, they're not getting help. And that's
Right,
that my job as a physician is to help, to educate, to
right,
empower, right? And so way back in 1999, and plus my brave patients that came in telling me of their issues. So over the years, I really delved into the issues of lack of intimacy and desire. And I found that it comes to 3 main things. Like, if we simplify it, these are issues of disconnect, issues of desire, and or issues of discomfort. Like, if it hurts every time you do something, why would you want to? Or after the fact, for women,
right,
a vaginal dryness, discharge, bladder infections, odor after sex. I mean, you don't want to have it, right? Like, that
right,
is not something you lean into. So that's one of the reasons I started really working with bioidentical hormones topically and intravaginally for vulvar health, vaginal health, and bladder health, to address incontinence symptoms, because incontinence symptoms and UTIs are issues. So I started combining my cream, and I created my cream, which is called Julva. So it's like vulva with a J.
yeah,
Julva, we say joyful vulva,
yeah,
Julva, and it has DHEA. which at the cellular level converts to testosterone and estrogen. It's been shown to be safe topically and intravaginally, and even clients with a history of breast cancer, but always talk with your oncologist. But it's one of the reasons I created it was something safe for my breast cancer patients that I was treating. I added plant stem cells from the alpine rose. Our formula has emollients to really help drive those ingredients deep, and I say we need to use it for intimate health. On the vulva, clitoris to anus, keep that tissue healthy and strong because it matters. We never want to suffer at any age with problems in that area, let
Right.
alone in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. This is one of the reasons I created Julva, because when I retired my practice, Christine, my patients were like, Dr. Anna, no one will give us your creams, lotions, and potions, all these compounds that I'd created. And so I said I would create something over the counter that's better than anything I can write on a prescription pad. And so that's how Julva was born. And then adding into that, vaginal and bladder health targeted probiotics. So important because we deplete them. So we have to reseed those. We always worry about the gut, but we need to think about the vagina and the bladder because none of us want to deal with those consequences of aging. And we found that which was so interesting, that the microbiome of the urethra and the bladder are very similar to the vagina. And when we lose that healthy microbiome, we get more susceptible to incontinence, urgency symptoms, and of course, urinary tract infections. So the advent of vaginal targeted probiotics, that's really key. Clean lubricant. So all these things that are so important for pelvic health. And it's like the last thing you talk about with your physician, right? It's the last thing. And it really, when we talk about this, we're bringing awareness, solve these problems that so many times people are dealing with silently. So that's why I really like to talk about it.
I love that you address this because I do feel like, especially in the conversations that I've had with thousands of women, a lot of people will tell me privately in a conversation that they're struggling with libido. I've had many conversations with people that are in almost sexless marriages, and they don't feel comfortable to share these things with other people. And that is one of the pieces that is the difference between a friendship and a marriage, is the intimacy. And
Okay.
so it's a really big topic. I feel like if you have anxiety, you're fine. It's comfortable. It's normal to talk about in society. If you have depression, we are all able to talk about that. But sexual health, being, intimate with your partner, it almost has this taboo to it. I was telling somebody on a previous episode, I don't think I've ever heard a church sermon on sex.
So true.
But you hear church sermons on anxiety and depression and suicide and every other topic, but not sex. And I think this needs to be something that the stigma is broken and we can just have these open and honest conversations. Anybody, even if you're listening to this and you're not comfortable having that conversation, just go to the show notes. You will find Dr. Anna's links for all of her products in the show notes. I know I use many of your products. And tell me a little bit more about your keto greens protein because
Yeah.
I am obsessed with that.
I love that you are. The reason I created that is because I wanted a clean sourced protein with my multivitamins and minerals in their activated form. So we say the albumin micronutrients, chelated minerals, so their body absorbs them. They're not synthetic, with super detoxifiers and antioxidants, and 0 grams of sugar. Now, this is so important. Look at your protein shake. 0 grams of sugar and added some healthy fat from MCT oil and just clean protein. So it is designed to be, again, we want to always supplement a good diet, but this is additional clean protein with antioxidants and vitamins and minerals will keep your blood sugar nice and stable. So that's one of the reasons that I invented it. Very clean, very healthy, easy to digest, hormonally balancing with detoxifiers, again, because we want to decrease inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and support the adrenals. So that, and I usually say add a scoop or two of my Mighty Maca 30 superfood adaptogen formula, goes a long way to decreasing inflammation, and I would say increasing intimacy, right? Because we need that.
I agree. So, if a woman is listening to this today and she just wants one simple step to start somewhere, what would be the first food choice that you would tell her to change or make?
Well, usually the biggest thing is to stop snacking and
Okay.
start intermittent fasting.
Okay.
So, and, then there's let's reduce carbs, reduce sugar, and anything like clean it up. Whole foods. If you can pick it, peel it, fish it, hunt it, milk it, grow it, then for the most part you can eat it, right?
Right. Go back to basics
Go back
of
to
how
basics.
we used to eat, just clean whole foods.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And more we see in the medical field. So I came back into practice a few years ago. And so just right as the pandemic was ending, it was called to come back into practice. I'm here in Dallas, Texas now because my youngest does rodeo. She's a barrel racer.
Love that.
And so we've been here, and I started seeing patients and immediately seeing the consequences post-pandemic, the issues that are coming up with that, like the increase in autoimmune diseases, inflammation cascades. I mean, it's incredible. So I really wanted to address these inflammations, insulin sensitivity, really focus on, I'm a longevity specialist, so hormone optimization certainly, but it comes from the foundations first.
Let me ask you one last question, Dr. Anna. What would you say to the woman who's been from doctor to doctor and they have said, your labs are normal, they're totally normal, but she's starting to lose hope that she will ever feel like herself again? Because I don't know if they are like me, but when my doctors ran my labs, they did not run everything. It took a different doctor to really, truly dig into all the different hormone testing that you can do, because there's a lot. It wasn't just a CBC. That's not what I was looking for. And that did not
Yeah.
give me that was your labs are normal. Congratulations. Eat less, walk more. Have a nice day. What would you
Yeah.
say to that woman?
Yeah, no, that's tragic. That's why I wrote my book, The Hormone Fix. Like, I would just recommend that's reading. And Christine, for your audience, they can do my free 10-day breeze through menopause program. Put that in my insider link. It's dranna.com/tribe. So DRANNA.com/tribe. And that they can access my free 10-day breeze through menopause program,
Amazing.
which kind of gives 5 to 10 minute videos daily, some medicinal menus that will really help. So we'll give that to your audience.
Thank you.
And
That's
the
great.
biggest thing is that, optimal is very different than normal, right? So on those labs, optimal is very different than normal. In looking at testing, we really need to look at so much more. When I look at what are the key lab tests that we want to look at for a patient for hormone optimization and when in their cycle we're doing these labs, that's really important. And honestly, for that woman who's told she's normal, but she does not feel like herself.
Right.
She does not feel like joy and healthy and happiness, or she's feeling stiff and achy and moody. Look, there is something going on. So this is that empowerment piece. Advocate for yourself. It takes a healthcare team. It's not your standard, typically, very rarely is it your standard medical doctor. You need someone with integrative, functional training. I say for taking care of women, I'm triple boarded, but I'm telling you, like, without the integrative medicine piece, we're not taking care of women well, and we're still not. We're understanding more and more for hormones. Like, I've been prescribing hormones for 30 years now, but they don't understand the integrative piece. And so really understand that for yourself and be empowered in that area. So the functional labs make a difference, inflammatory markers, where in your cycle you are, but always detox, because the answer is often, we may need to add some progesterone and pregnenolone cream. We may need to add some estrogen. We may need to add some testosterone, but we have to continuously support your adrenals, decrease inflammation, and detox hormones safely. And so that's the piece, that's the key piece of the puzzle. Understand, like, advocate, tell your doctors, I want these labs, I want these tests, give them a copy of my book, The Hormone Fix. I mean, I learned way back in early 2000 to open my mind even further because one of my patients brought me Christiane Northrup's book, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, and highlighted key areas and bookmarked key areas for me to read. And she's like, I
Right.
know you don't have time to read the whole thing, but read these parts. I mean, it really helped because
Right.
it just, we have to, again, first and foremost, we're in charge of us. Trust that intuition. If you know that you are not feeling good and you're being told you're normal, something is going on. You're called to find that answer.
Amen. And I truly believe, and I've said this before so many times, that I believe that dysregulated hormones is spiritual warfare. because God did not create our bodies to live in the place that they are now. And so I just want to say thank you for everything you have done. And thank you for giving this gift to our listeners today. We will link that in the show notes. Please go follow Dr. Anna on Instagram, purchase her books, try her products. I cannot recommend her Julva cream enough. Go get it. I just want to say thank you so much for being on today's episode. And I have a feeling you might be seeing more of Dr. Anna and I connecting more in the future.
Thank you so much. It's such an important topic. I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Friend, I am so thankful that you were here today. I pray this episode blessed you big time. And if it did, would you do me a favor and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts? It helps more women just like you find the show, and it may be the very reason that somebody else gets the answers that they need. I would also love to connect with you personally on Instagram. You can find me by searching Cortisol_Coach. That's where I show up every single day. And send me a DM. I would love to connect with you. I'll see you next time.